the Spanish Grand Prix was, for once in its whole entire long lifetime, actually good. Well, good, maybe not good is the word. It's definitely not the best race I've ever seen, but it wasn't the Spanish Grand Prix we were expecting. And for that, I give, mainly Hamilton and Verstappen, they gave us a title fight. And there are a few other good fights, like for the last point, between Perez, Ricardo, Leclerc, etc. Overall, it was not that bad, considering the track we were racing at, the Circuit de Catalunya. I forgot the last part of the name, but still, there's still track improvements that can be made, aka the last chicane, but we're not talking about that today. Maybe I will, I'm not sure. But, as I said, as usual, let's get to the driver ratings, as this is Spain, in my opinion. Starting off with the race winner, Lewis Hamilton, puts it on pole, only just puts it on pole, to be fair. I think it was about a couple hundredths in it, but it still puts it on pole and wins the race, despite realistically it being down to entirely Mercedes' strategy and a decent comeback drive. It wasn't really a comeback, but a decent getting through the field when he pitted for his second stop. I have given him an 8.0. I think that's pretty fair, considering he actually didn't lead most of the race, considering he got pole and, lost out to Verstappen at turn 1. I think that's fair. 8.0, moving on to Max Verstappen. I will give him... he led most of the race. Strategy, his dead tyres, basically ruined that race. But from his perspective, from his drive, smashed it. It was just he had to extend those tyres for so long. So I'm going to give him an 8.0. I'm not a Hamilton hater. I don't hate him. I don't, he wins all the time and it's a bit annoying, but I do respect that he was good. But actually, Verstappen led most of that race. So I give him an 8.0. Both an 8.0 for the two leaders. Simple as that. Valtteri Bottas. It's just Valtteri Bottas things, isn't it? Coming third in what is a very uneventful late race. Lost out to Leclerc at the start, which did ruin his race, but it was also his fault that he lost out to him. So qualifies in third, finishes in third, 7.8 for the Finnish driver, who is just shocking so far this season. Yeah, he's got, a third? He's come third, DNF, third. He just can't get past third, I think, anyway. Charles Leclerc, probably the best driver of the day if you consider everyone. That's why he's got the highest score of the day of an 8.3. He's really done really well over the past few races. Qualifying, he did really, really well. Qualified 4th, finished 4th. I can't really fault that performance, especially considering Ferrari need this from Leclerc. They need him. Bringing home 12 points is absolutely massive, and big respect to Charles Leclerc. I don't know how you put it. It's not Charles Leclerc. Anyway, 8.3. Lovely jubbly. I will never forgive myself for saying that. Sergio Perez. It's a bit of a race because he's done well from qualifying 7th, 9th, 8th. 8th. Back up into 5th. But he really needs to be finishing 4th minimum, I think if Red Bull are going to at all fight for the constructors' title, realistically, he is a better driver than Bottas. And if he can get to grips with the second Red Bull, I'd like to see him beating Bottas, really, is where I think he should be and needs to be. So I'll give him a 7.9 based on the fact there's a lot of room for improvement, let's say that. Like a primary school teacher. It's not bad. There's room for improvement, all right? Moving on to the McLaren driver of Daniel Ricciardo, who's finally had a satisfying race, I think. I think every race so far has been overshadowed by Lando Norris's performance, which definitely didn't happen this race, but we'll get on to that. Daniel Ricciardo had a great race, really. Qualified in 7th and finished 6th. One place up, but more importantly, he basically got as high as he possibly could, considering Leclerc qualified 4th, and he wasn't really getting near Leclerc. Leclerc was on a bit of another level today. Did get overtaken by Perez. Got a warning for weaving, which I saw nothing wrong with that. How he defended against Perez. He moved to the inside more to block it, and Perez just goes on the outside. There's literally nothing wrong with it. It doesn't weave, in my opinion, at all. And yeah, he got a bit of a message from the FIA to stop weaving on straights, but I don't think he wasn't doing that. So an 8.0 for Daniel Ricciardo. Carlos Sainz up next, who's clearly also still getting to grips with the Ferrari, but another decent race, 6 points. And I'm going to give him a 7.9 as well. Qualifying, again, 6th. At least he's beating both McLaren, who are their real competition. But obviously he was not where Leclerc was. He was only a 10th off, but he was split by Ocon, as that was really, really tight between them. Oh no. Yeah, he was, 10th off, yeah. I just had a mathematical error, syntax error. But, yeah. It's a 7.9 because it's a decent race. Then moving on to Lando Norris. Lando, what went wrong today? It just wasn't. It's nothing necessarily went wrong. It just wasn't good, was it? It just wasn't the performances we've seen so far. And I think that's a problem. Is that because he's had top 5s now for all those races this season, we expect much highly. And because he came 8th today, we didn't. But still qualifying 9th, it's just not. It's not where Daniel Ricciardo was, and he should be doing better than Daniel Ricciardo, because we've seen he is better at the moment in that McLaren. And if Ricciardo's going to start getting to grips and start performing highly, he needs the performance early on to beat him a lot more. But today it wasn't that, and I'm giving him a 7.7. I told you after a past few races I've been giving him high scores, and I knew that it would come the time when he wouldn't have a great race, and I said I will give him a lower score, and I have a 7.7, because he really wasn't up to scratch today. And as much as I love him, it wasn't a great performance, and hopefully he comes back stronger in Monaco, which is Monaco, so it's not going to be an exciting race, but it's Monaco. Either way, 7.7. Esteban Ocon, incredible qualifying in 5th. And I have to take that into account, because qualifying 5th in that Alpine is very, very impressive, despite him finishing 9th. You know, the Alpine is not as quick as the McLaren, Ferrari, Red Bull, or Mercedes, obviously. But he still did a fairly good job, and he fended off Gasly at the very end. In kind of that fight for the final point, he obviously got 2 points, but I'm giving him an 8.0, which could be seen as too much, but I don't think it is. I think he's earned it, especially with the qualifying performance, and beating his teammate by obviously a load, but we'll talk about what happened to Alonso at the end of the race in a second. But yeah, 8.0 for Esteban Ocon. Then Pierre Gasly, who nabbed, is that a word? Yeah, nabbed. Got the last point, coming 10th. I've given him a 7.9. I don't think that AlphaTauri is actually as quick as we thought it was, or as it was in Bahrain. Either they were just never as quick, or the other teams have brought more upgrades that they haven't, because Tsunoda recently hasn't been up there anymore like he was in Bahrain. Neither has Gasly. He was qualifying, the first 2 races he qualified, I think 5th and 4th, or 5th and 6th or something, and now he qualified 12th maybe? Oh no, I got that. 12th, yeah, I was right, 12th, and finishing 10th. You know, in Bahrain, he was nearly best of the rest. So how has the fall of happened like that? And I'm going to have to give him a 7.9, as I said. So, yeah, 7.9 for Gasly. Because I thought he would be more lucky. It's still a decent race to get the first point, and that's what I was trying to say, is that I don't think the car is as fast anymore. So 10th or 10th or 9th area isn't that bad to be fighting the Aston and the Alpine. Moving on, Lance Stroll. Unlucky race. Coming 11th, not getting a point. Qualified 11th. He has qualified in Q3 a bit, but I don't think that Aston Martin's very quick. 7.8, because they still need to be getting points if they want to challenge Ferrari and McLaren, which I don't think any other team is going to do. Maybe Alpine, if they do bring some serious upgrades, but Fernando Alonso hasn't necessarily impressed me like Ocon has so far. Just going to say that now. But yeah, Lance Stroll 7.8. I think they're going to have a tough season, Aston Martin. I think they could be on the low end of the midfield. I have a feeling AlphaTauri might even beat them if Vettel especially can't knock up his game. But before Vettel, we need to talk about Kimi Räikkönen, because he finished 12th after qualifying in, I think, very low parts. 17th, finished 12th. It's not points, but he's working towards points. And I think Giovannazi is being beaten on pace so far. Today we'll talk about again when we get to him, but with the pit stop stuff. But still, Kimi Räikkönen, I think, would have beaten him and is doing a really, really good job, especially in this race. Not great qualifying, but it made up for it with a decent drive, and I think it's a matter of time before Alfa Romeo get their hands on some points. I've given him an 8.0 because it's a really solid race from Kimi Räikkönen, and it's mad that he is 89 years old and he is still doing this. So, I think he's got 7 great grandchildren, but still putting in performances that are beating the likes of Sebastian Vettel, who is the next person to talk about. What is going on? I say this every time. What, Sebastian? Why are you so slow? Is my question here. Because again, you haven't made Q3, qualified 13th, and you finished 13th. I mean, what can I say apart from 7.7? Yeah. He's not far off getting overtaken by a Williams, so something's gone wrong at Aston Martin. Please fix it, because it just makes the midfield even more juicy. Anyway, get past that, the doom and gloom of the 7.7 for Sebastian Vettel, and move on to George Russell. Qualified in 15th, again making it Q2, which is really good in the Williams, I guess, but I think we could see him in Q3 this year. He got very close in Portimao, I think, to 11th or 12th, but I have given George Russell 7.9 for another extremely solid performance. Coming 14th in the Williams is not an easy task. It's not an easy task. We know there's more performance in it, so it's not the perfect performance, but it is 7.9 worthy in my opinion. Making a couple overtakes, doing some things in the Williams. There you go. Antonio Giovannazi. This is the one where it was quite hard to judge, because yes, he finished in 15th, but it was mainly due to the fact his pit stop on lap 2, or whenever the safety car was I think it was 38 seconds, because they brought a punctured tyre out, or a flat tyre, completely flat tyre. How? Yeah, but it's just sad. But good from the mechanic that he saw it and didn't put it on, and then his race would have been over. At least he came 15th instead of last. But yeah, I don't know how I can give any higher than a 7.8 for that performance. It wasn't necessarily his fault, but like a 35-second pit stop. Someone's got to get fired, right? Surely. Yeah, Antonio Giovinazzi, not one to remember. Nicholas Latifi, however, also not really one to remember. 7.8 also for him, mainly because he finished above both the Hasses and Alonso, which is kind of all he needs to be doing. He's not going to beat Russell. We can't expect that from him. If he could get ahead of the Alfa Romeos. That would be nice, but he got ahead of Alonso, so it's kind of the same as doing that. I expect nothing more than 15th, 16th from Latifi, and that's why I've given the 7.8. Got out qualified by Mick Schumacher, which is quite embarrassing. Oh my god, I nearly did the flipping video of the girl. Embarrassing. Quite embarrassing to be out qualified by a Haas, which we know is literally like driving a tractor. So yeah, poor race from him. Then we go to Fernando Alonso, who was up in fighting for 10th with the whole scrap with when like Bottas was lapping them, but he couldn't lap them because Ocon and Alonso were having a tasty little scrap for 10th. I think it wasn't even that. It was like 11th, but then his tyres just went, and then he came 17th. So that was maybe the biggest drop off in, I don't know, he just went from 11th to 17th in like 10 laps, and that's pretty sad to see from Fernando. I've given him a 7.6 because as a veteran, I think he needs to manage his tyres better, because if he had, he could have been in for a point if he had managed his tyre better, in my opinion. And it's Fernando Alonso, I don't expect that from him. Then Mick Schumacher, and what a race. Not really, because he came 18th, but it's in the Haas, and he's beating his teammate, which is already good. But the main reason I've given him the score, which is an 8.1, is because he beat Latifi in qualifying, and he didn't qualify second last, he qualified third last. And to be fair, that is rather impressive in my opinion, because he's absolutely smashed it to out-qualify Latifi. Poor from Latifi. I'm happy for Mick Schumacher. He looks like he's getting to grips with that car faster than I thought he would. I'm not going to lie, I thought Mazepin might actually be beating him until maybe the second half of the season, because Schumacher takes some time to get up to speed, but no. Schumacher has dominated him from the beginning, and I think he will in every single race. And the fact that he out-qualified Latifi shows that he is getting more and more confident, and that's why I've given him an 8.1. Then we go on to Nikita Mazepin. Every time I think, maybe he's learned his lesson, right? I'm not talking about off the track. I'm talking about on the track. Maybe he's learned his lesson of what a blue flag is. Maybe he's actually, taken a course in F1 Flags 101. But what the... What is he doing? Mazepin is so far off of Schumacher. At least he didn't crash. I'm surprised he didn't crash. It's a 7.6 for what can only be described as sadness within the Haas team. Well, maybe not. They can wipe their tears with Dmitry Mazepin's oil money. But yeah, 7.6 is actually quite high when you think about it. But he didn't crash, and I don't know what to say. Final one, Yuki Tsunoda, which there isn't really anything to judge it off, because he had an engine failure on like the second lap or something, or the first lap. But I've given him a 7.6 only because, right, he didn't finish the race, which just isn't ideal, and also he qualified 16th when, compare it to Pierre Gasly, qualified 12th. He didn't even make it out of Q3. He needs to make it out of Q3. He's been beaten by Alfa Romeo and a Williams. That's not good from Yuki. As much as I love him, no, not ideal performance. 7.6. That is the entire grid, and this is now what the championship looks like. Some pretty interesting shuffling around. The midfield is extremely tight in this little ratings here, but there you go. And I'm pretty sure Mazepin is still rock bottom. But yeah, Sebastian Vettel climbing slowly, not really. Quick minute to talk about Formula 3 race at the weekend, or Formula 3 races at the weekend. My boy Victor Martins, who I am very much behind, had a decent weekend, to be fair. He came, I think, around, I can't be certain, I know he obviously got the second place in the second race, and he sits fourth in the championship. I think the first race he came 8th or 7th or something, 8th or 9th even maybe, and then in the last race he got 10 points, which means he finished, I don't know, is it the same as F1? I genuinely, I'm not sure. Yeah, I think it is. And if you get 10 points, what does that mean? You finish third, so 5th. Yeah, I think he finished about 5th. But yeah, decent few races from Victor Martins. Hauger, I think that's how you say his name, it leads the championship over in F3 after a great win in race 3 and qualifying on pole position for the first race, even though he didn't have the ideal race that he would have wanted. But yeah, fair play that he's up there. You got Cadwell, Novalak, Martins, Duhan, Ko Colette, I think I've learned how to say his name, no idea, Vesti, Smolia, Nannini and Edgar, the top 10 at the moment. So fair play to all the F3 runners. It's looking like a tasty season in F1 and F2 and F3 even. So yeah, keep your eye on that championship and F2 because it's very, very spicy. But in the meantime, 2 weeks' time, we go to Monaco, which isn't always a very exciting race because it's about 6 centimetres wide. But I'll see you in a bit. I'm going to have something out this week. I'm not sure yet. I've got a few ideas, but until then, have a lovely day.